Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio, everybody. What is going on? It is Gale here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi Season 5 video. And today, we are going to be breaking down and talking about all the cut contents of Episode 4. And of course, we're going to be talking about whether or not they made the right decisions, the wrong decisions, whether or not they should have or should not have included the specific scenes that we're going to be talking about in this video. Now, of course, with this episode, it is also the end of Volume 16's adaptation. So we are now done. Episodes 1 to 4 covered everything from Volume 16, and now from Episode 5 onwards, we're going to be covering Volume 17. So what I want you guys to do in the comment section down below today is I want you guys to put your thoughts of the adaptation. If you're a light novel reader or an anime only, down below in the comment section, what did you guys think? What did you guys think? Do you guys think everything was done extremely well? The cliffhanger at the end of Episode 4, everything. Let me know if you guys thought it was done well, done poorly. What do you guys think should have been improved upon? Let me know. I'm gonna read your guys' comments in a video tomorrow, so I want to see your guys' comments. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Now, of course, one thing I will say going into this video is that the cut contents in this video I think are probably going to be some of the most subjective ones, in my opinion. To be quite honest, it's going to be probably featuring some of the cut contents, unlike in previous episodes where I said they've made the right decision all the time when it comes to choosing the right scenes and everything, right? This episode probably features some of the decisions where I would say it's a bit 50-50 in my opinion especially. So if it's in my opinion it's 50-50, in the community's perspective, I think it's going to be a lot more, there's going to be a lot more discrepancy between people's opinions. Everybody's going to be like, yes, this was the right decision, no, this was the wrong decision, and so on and so forth. So keep an open mind. Let me know your guys' thoughts as well. I want to see what you guys have to say, because this is it's a very tricky one, this episode. This one's a very tricky one. I still think, having rewatched the episode, getting off of my high of the episode, avoiding the whole recency bias thing, having now reread the entirety of Volume 16, including the final chapters now, I feel like I have a better opinion about this episode in its entirety, to be quite honest. But I would still say, like, even after having reread the light novel, even after rewatching the episode and actually hearing out certain other people's perspectives about certain scenes, I'd still give this episode a solid 8 or 9 out of 10. Probably like somewhere in the middle, 8.5 out of 10 basically, right? I'd still give it that, because I feel like what they did do really well, they did exceptionally well, from start to finish, with the music, with the dialogue, with the voice acting, with the general expressions and everything included in that, the music and all, I think was done fantastic. That being said, though, I would knock off marks purely because I feel like they could have done better with certain scenes, and I feel like they should have included 1 or 2 scenes. Now, of course, the first scene that I would want to talk about in terms of cut content is, of course, this whole inn scene, right? The scene where Belle and Seer are at the inn, and of course, they're about to go to bed. They're talking about their relationship, or Seer's trying to talk about her feelings towards Belle and everything, right? And we see Seer attempting to charm Belle. Now, of course, if you want to know that about some more extra details and further cut contents that I feel aren't as important to this episode, such as, of course, the whole Belle wearing the women's pants and Seer wearing the men's pants and finding it too baggy, that's in yesterday's video, the extra details. Go check it out, of course, if you want to see more extra details and those finer details that I'm probably not going to mention in too much detail in this video, of course, when it comes to cut contents. But of course, that is one, of course, right, where they don't really talk about whether, the fact that Seer wore the men's pants, hence why she found it baggy, not just because she was trying to tease Belle necessarily. But in this particular scene, one of the main things that happens is that, of course, Seer tries to charm Belle unintentionally, and in a very, like, subconscious way. Effectively, she tries to charm Belle, and doesn't want to immediately after, right? So the moment Belle's like, what are you doing, kind of thing, she's like, no, I didn't want to do this, don't look at me, and in a very shameful way is looking away from Belle, right? But in this moment in the light novel, there are certain other details that help aid the reader in understanding exactly what happened. Now, of course, to the viewer, to the anime-only viewer, Belle breaks from Seer's charm, right? Belle is completely immune to Seer's charm, doesn't get affected by it, and of course is able to hold off on it, right? Now, in the light novel, you can tell that there's a little bit more, not, I wouldn't say struggle. Struggle is not the right word, but there's a bit more of a tingle there. There's a bit more of a thing there that, you know, Belle recognizes there's a charm happening, which I feel like the anime didn't get across really well. They tried to, I think they did try to, but they didn't do a really good job with that, I feel. But the other thing is, they also had a golden flash go off. Like, I think it was a golden flash or something go off, if I recall correctly, in particular. But then, of course, you know, it was signifying that Liaris Freeze activated and was working overtime to block that shit, you know what I mean? And that didn't happen in the anime. That golden flash, that tingle didn't happen necessarily in the anime. And I feel like that is something that I feel like would have taken at least 2 or 3 seconds extra, and I feel like they could have included that. That wouldn't have done a lot in terms of, like, it's not one of those things that I would have said like revolutionizes this episode and makes it a 10 out of 10 or anything, but it definitely would have helped the episode a little bit more and helped in getting to know Belle's you know, whole thing and whole shtick a little bit more, in terms of Liaris Freeze being this very significant thing, of course, right? I mean, at the end of the day, Liaris Freeze has been significant from episode 1. I know a lot of anime onlys know that already, but it would have doubled down on that even more so, and I feel like that is something that they cut out. And I think it was something that should have been included, in my opinion, because again, it's not one of those scenes that would have taken 15, 20 seconds even. It would have taken you at most an extra 5 seconds. I think that was supposedly probably one of the easiest scenes that they could have easily included and should have been included. I would say that this is a scene that should have been included, in my opinion. So that is cut content number 1, and in my opinion, probably one of the more easier ones to include in the anime if they wanted to, in my personal opinion. Now, do I think it was important to add it to this episode? Yes, I feel like it was important to add it to this episode. Now, I've been deliberating over this, whether or not this was important or not, and I do feel like it is important, even though, because the thing is, the reason why I say I wasn't sure about it being important or not to include the golden flash tingle thing is because it's not like we don't know that Belle is able to restrain the charm, because we've seen him doing it before in season 2 with Ishtar, right? And of course, if you know about Liaris Freeze and how it works and everything since season 1, it's, you know, it's Liaris Freeze at work, right? You know it already. You know Belle's skills and you are aware of it. But that does not mean that, you know, it is not helpful to obviously tell people about it again. It's all about show, not tell. You know, this is a common saying across a lot of different anime and video games and stuff, right? It's all about show us, don't tell us, you know. And of course, in this case, they did neither necessarily, but you don't, even if you did tell us later on, why didn't you just show it to us? It would have been faster even, right? So I think that is one thing that I feel like they could have just done easily, and it would have been also super helpful for anime onlys as well to kind of identify and find out as well. So in my opinion, important and should have been shown. In all honesty, it 100% should have been shown. Now, the next big scene I would say is probably I would probably say that the next scene is probably going to be the horn scene, I feel, because I feel like this is where things get very interesting, the horn seer scene, because I want to talk a bit about this specific scene in more detail again as well, because I feel like they, in the anime at least, at this moment in time. Now, of course, maybe they might add it in the future, who knows, but I'm not gonna, you know, hold my hopes on it necessarily just yet. In the light novel, it was a lot more expansive. There was a lot more there. In fact, there was actually an interlude as well that they just didn't include whatsoever. I think the intermission literally happens right before Belle wakes up at the end. It literally happens right before that. Is Seer thinks about or I say in this situation, Seer, Horn thinks about when she was called Seer way back when, you know, she was freezing, lonely, alone somewhere, and then of course Freya appears before her, you know, and then of course they have that whole negotiation and talk, but of course you don't get to see that whole start to finish. Basically, we only just see like a small snippet of that scene. Now, do I think they could have included more here for Horn and Horn's perspective from way back when, and explaining why, you know, it was like why Horn is so fanatically in love with Freya, right? And such a big advocate of Freya, of course, right? I think they probably should have included everything. But again, this is the reason why I'm like, maybe they might have not included it right now because they might include it in a future episode. It's very possible. It is very possible. But I think it would have been good to have it in this episode as well, to just kind of double down on why Horn is such a zealot, as Alan said in the episode, of Freya. Why is she such a big zealot, effectively? So I think this would have been a good thing to have, is like just start to finish show us what happened to Seer at the very beginning, and the fact that she thought of dying basically before Freya came and rescued her effectively and saved her, right? So I think it would have been nice to have now. Again, do I think this was important? Yes, I do think it was important. Do I think it should be included right now? No, I think it can be included in a future episode, so I'm not gonna really say like it should have been here necessarily immediately. It can be included in a future episode, and I think they might still include it in a future episode. I think it's very possible that it might be in a future episode, but we'll have to just wait and see, of course, on that front. I think we'll just have to wait and see and figure out whether or not they're gonna actually include it or not. Now, let's talk about the fight itself, right? The Hostess of Fertility fight versus the Freya Familia fight, right? Let's move over to this scene. Yeah. This didn't have many cut contents. I don't think there was any major cut content here necessarily, I would say. I think the more significant thing I would say that they could have included from this specific scene, in my opinion, is probably the fact that they should have probably made Lenore and the Gulliver brothers recognize each other a bit more, and maybe have like a flashback sequence be added. But do I think this was an important scene? No, I don't think it's important to the overall context. Would it have been nice to include it? Absolutely. But do I think should it have been included, and was it important? Not in the grand scheme of things necessarily. Not in the grand scheme. Definitely for that, relationship and sort of like, differences, setting up the differences between the two opposing parties, right? With Anya versus Alan, Lenore versus the Gulliver brothers, and Ryu having to deal with that whole concept of Seer being involved with the Freya Familia, as well as Belle. It would have been nice to have that sort of extra grudge be a thing, but was it necessary? No, I wouldn't necessarily say it was necessary in this moment in time. So that is what my personal verdict is on that front. Now, right after that, of course, once, Belle and Seer run away from this, they go and somehow meet up with, Hermes, Asfi, and Aiz and Hestia, right, in the middle of the streets, right? And this is where the anime, I think, kind of screwed up a little bit. This scene, I think, needed to be improved majorly so, because people were confused on what happened to Aiz. Where was she going? What happened to Hermes? What did they even talk about and everything? But basically, in this scene, what happened in the light novels was that Belle and Seer ran by, said that the Freya Familia was attacking them, and Ryu and the other waitresses were fighting them. And of course, at this time and place, Seer was trying to hide herself behind Hestia, basically. And then, of course, Hermes said that, they'd buy them some time, basically, and asked Aiz to go and actually, or asked Aiz if she wouldn't mind helping going up against the Freya Familia, or trying to get in the Freya Familia's way, not necessarily fighting the Freya Familia, because of course if Aiz starts fighting them, then the Loki Familia gets put into the dispute, right? And then of course Hermes asks Asfi to go and help. A lot of that was just cut from the episode, and it was just condensed really heavily, and it was mashed together. I feel like that could have been done a bit better, in my opinion. It probably would have taken another 30-45 seconds to have that whole scene be extra'd a little bit more, or stretched out a little bit more, to help it make people understand exactly what the hell was going on. I think people got the gist of what happened there, basically, right? Because at the end of the day, you saw Aiz running out, of course, once she saw Belle and Seer, same with Asfi, so everybody kind of realized that they were going to, kind of halt the Freya Familia in their positions if possible. But yeah, and of course, the most important scene that they didn't cut from that, which was, I think, super important, was Hestia asking Hermes what Seer was, because I think that is the significant point of like, okay, now we need to kind of talk about, you know, who the hell is Seer, right? And Hestia has never met Seer before, so she's like, what the hell is going on, you know? And then Hermes says to Hestia, like, you know, he doesn't know what the hell is going on. He has his theories, but nobody knows what the hell is going on. And obviously Hermes then actually says in the light novel, I don't think they mention it in the anime, is that Hermes mentions that the only person who knows who Seer is probably, or who knows what Seer is Loki as well. So yeah, Hestia then goes on to talk about, you know, whether or not she's linked to a goddess or something, which we saw at the end of that conversation anyways in the anime, which was good. I think that was very, very good. So overall, that is pretty much the main gist of everything that was mainly cut from the start to the 75th percent of the anime, basically. Now, the biggest thing we need to talk about is, of course, the ending, the final ending where Belle rejects Seer, right? This is where I think a lot of Ice fans in particular are frustrated. Of course, they're frustrated at a lot of other things, which I feel like some of it is over exaggerated in my personal opinion, which is why I'm very frustrated with Ice fans in some ways. Not all of them, but most of them I feel are behaving in a very, you know, embarrassing way in my personal opinion. But anyways, I feel like if there's anything that they're right about, I think it was the Liaris Freeze scene at the very beginning, and of course this specific scene, which I think, in all honesty, I'm still very conflicted on. Nonetheless, I will back them in this situation, to be quite honest. And it is, of course, at the end where Belle is about to reject Seer, we see him internalizing his thoughts a little bit and, you know, thinking about it, of course, right, a little bit. I think what they should have done is, in his mind, we should have had like flashback sequences to two scenes in particular. One, and this was in the light novels, by the way. One is his discussion with Wealth. That was such a vital scene, and I'm so glad that they included that in the episode, in my personal opinion, because it is a very important scene. So his discussion with Wealth, and two, just Eyes. Just remember Eyes. Even one snippet of Eyes, I think, would have been more than fine, personally. I don't think they needed to go through like an entire, you know, collage or collection of like Eyes images or anything. Just think of Wealth's talk and Eyes. That's it. Just one scene of Eyes, and that's it. And it wouldn't have taken them that much to do. Instead of having their focus on Belle's just internal thoughts, just like going like, and then obviously saying it. I think we should have had that whole, just a quick flashbang of like 2 seconds or 3 seconds of like just jumping between Wealth and Eyes, and then bringing us back to Belle's face, and you would have had a perfect thing there, in my personal opinion. So do I think it's important? Yes, because of course Eyes is the winner of this series. Let's be real, she's the main female protagonist. A lot of people may not want to believe so, but she is the main female protagonist. And on the other side of the coin, she is also the reason why Belle is where he is right now, because of Liaris Freeze, right? At the end of the day, she is the key component of Liaris Freeze, alongside, of course, the Xenoses and, of course, Astreus as well. They are extensions as well. They were add-ons, effectively. Feels weird calling it add-ons because it's like DLCs, basically. Downloadable contents to Liaris Freeze, baby. But no, seriously, on a real note, that, I think, could have been done better, in my opinion. Am I going to cry over it? Personally, no. I don't think it's crazy, because we know that, like, there's a reason why Belle's been so indecisive about it, and let's be real, I would be shocked if anybody else believed otherwise. It's the whole reason why he's still so he was so indecisive about Ryu as well, because of course of Eyes as well. Like, he knows he's prioritizing Eyes all the time anyways, so it's not like this is supposed to be something brand new for other people to be like, oh, why is he so conflicted? It's because of Eyes. It's because of Eyes. Eyes is the reason why he's so conflicted. So I know a lot of anime only already know about that, but for those people who didn't get it, it would have been super easy for them to understand the reasoning behind it if they just included Eyes. So I think that could have been something that they could have done a little bit better there. Would I say, again, it's, you know, extremely problematic? Not really, no. I don't think it was like a big problem of them not including it, especially based on, okay, I kind of spoilers for episode 5, but if you haven't already seen it, it's already on Twitter. The trailer for episode 5 has come, and we already see certain scenes that people were wanting from this episode in that episode as well already. So again, they know what they're doing. I'm gonna let them cook the entire season, and then we're gonna talk about whether or not they did certain characters right, wrong, did they do certain storylines and story beats right or wrong later down the line. But of course, in the meantime, we have to obviously talk about what we're given, and obviously I'm gonna be a little judgmental of what we're given. So that is my verdict. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below as well. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say down below. But that is all the cut contents for volume 16, the primary cut contents for volume 16. Of course, the major scenes I feel like that got cut heavily, and if even Amori Sensei said that if they had an extra episode, of course, and he was saying like, he said he loved, of course, episodes 1 to 4, but he said if they had one extra episode, the main things he was going to include was a longer fight scene between the Hostess of Fertility and Freya Familia, a bit more of a expansion on Horn and Freya, which I think was the right decision, obviously, right? And I think he said he wanted the inn scene to be a little bit longer as well, a little bit more of a luxurious scene of the inn scene, which I think would have been the right decisions. I think those would have been where I would have also focused on a little bit more if the episode was given maybe another 20 minutes, or if they had done an extra episode instead. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Of course, if you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, all that sort of good stuff, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.